oftentimes when we check in, we're afraid of learning something we want to hear. Because we like to think that once we're in a relationship and we say the words, I love you, that somehow those words are going to make us work. It's going to be us saying those words. It's going to somehow carry us through whatever conflict or challenges we have. And because we said, I love you way back when 5 years ago, that's all we really need to do. But the truth is we always have to check in with each other.
Okay. Now I have a little chill down my spine.
We're going to clench the butt cheeks. Let it go.
1, 2.
Clench, let it go. Clench, let it go. It's like inhales, exhales for your butt. Okay. Was that weird?
Yeah, was it a little weird? It was a little weird. Should
we keep it? Okay.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, whatever.
Hello.
Hi, you guys. Oh, my God.
I have 2 words. Nick Viall. Are you kidding me? Is this day real?
I can't believe this is happening, but here we are.
On the 101st. Wait. Is that how you'd say it? 101st episode?
101.
Okay, sorry. 101th. I did
101th.
TH on the end of it. On the 101st episode, I cannot believe it. This is freaking exciting, dude. I'm hyped.
And yeah, honestly, my straight candid moment is just a part of this episode because,
is it?
Well, on my way here, I was like, lately I've been a little bit stressed. There's a lot fucking happening this week.
Oh God,
with straight candid. Literally, it's been a full-time job for us, but we love it. Wouldn't change it.
Just a lot going on.
Yeah, just a lot happening. So lately I've been listening to, wait for it, anxiety frequencies. Do you know what these are?
No.
I was like, why is this so helpful? I'm like, fine. I was just trying to find chill music and I kept seeing this anxiety frequency pop up on my Spotify. So I click on it. I'm like, this is bullshit. And all of a sudden I'm like, ooh.
What's the sound?
I'm like, wow, that feels good, bro. Okay, so I literally tried to research it a little bit on my drive. Not on my drive, sorry, when I parked in my car.
Lie. That was a lie.
And I've learned you have your brain stimulation, right? There's 2 sides of your brain and you're supposed to listen to it with earphones in. So if you click and you go to Spotify and you type in anxiety frequencies, there's usually one that's they measure it in hertz, HZ. And there's one that you click on and apparently it stimulates both sides of your brain at the same time. So it kind of ends up making a different frequency wave in your brain. Don't know the signs. I literally probably just butchered that. But it's the same idea as doing butterfly taps, if you've ever heard of that for anxiety.
No.
When you cross your arms, put it on your shoulders, and you tap left, then tap right, tap left, then tap right.
Gets your brain thinking too much.
It helps so much. So I'm like, it's the same idea as that because it's working both sides of the brain a little bit. So I'm like,
weird.
Ooh. Literally on my drive here, I'm like blasting it. I'm like, okay,
what does it sound like
calm.
though?
I mean,
can you use your mouth and tell me what it sounds like? Because I listen to white noise every.
You want me to use my mouth? What? No, not like that. Okay, hold on.
What's going on?
Shh.
It's kind of like a meditation.
Yeah. It's like what you hear when you get a massage.
Did you guys ever do the handbells in music class when you were in school?
Yes.
That's what it kind of reminds me
Cowbells.
of.
You know what it reminds me of is one of those circle.
Different.
Listen, the circle instruments, and you get to go.
Oh yeah, that's better.
It's called something. It's
sound therapy.
Bath.
Sound therapy.
Sound bath.
Yeah,
exactly.
Do you have a straight candid moment?
Okay. Yes.
And what is a straight candid moment?
A straight candid moment basically is something that makes you more human. It's either candid and hilarious, or it's embarrassing as hell, or it's just freaking straight up real, and you kind of sit back and you're like, holy crap. I am human. This reminded me I'm not the best of the best. I'm just like everybody else. And
humbled.
We can laugh at it and we're humbled. So that's a straight candid moment.
Like my pants right now.
Your panties.
It's literally popping out like I got a little bony.
That's a little bony, isn't it? Yeah,
okay.
It's crazy. Okay, so my straight candid moment is a little more serious today, but not actually because I'm okay. I got freaking hit. Okay, I should give a little context.
What?
I got hit. Some bitch punched me. No, I'm just kidding. Somebody rear-ended me. I'm calling things by incorrect names today, and that was one of my pet peeves. So hypocrite. No, somebody rear-ended me so bad. She rear-ended somebody else, and then that person rear-ended me. So it was like a little carousel. Whoop, one into the other, and it was scary. I have hit someone before in a car on accident. They were stopped on the highway, but this was like, I didn't see it coming. The person cut me off like right before, and my back hurts, and I was pissed, and I was on the side of the road, and it was just
a hard hit too.
It was a hard hit. She was going like 70 miles an hour coming down the road, didn't brake, and it's just like, all I gotta say is whether she was distracted, whether she actually fell asleep, which is the argument she's trying to make, even though I honked at her 20 seconds prior, or whether she was on something, and I hope that you can get help. You got to pay the fuck attention. Like, it was a reminder because I've been now passing people the last 3 days on the highway who are driving a little wacky, and they're on their phone.
I was just going to say, you literally just called me out a little bit too. And
but I did it too.
I need to work on it. I usually change my Spotify and shit, but like I need to stop even doing that. Like,
I know. And you know what I always do? This is so like, why am I going to this extreme? But I'm like, my grandma wouldn't want me texting and driving. Like, I go psychotic, and I'm like, you know what? I just need to stop. It's not worth it. Me sending a text of like, LOL, yeah. Like, that's not worth it. So I just was like, it made me really realize, I mean, I wasn't at fault at all in the situation. I will say, dealing with insurance, holy bananas, that's annoying.
Dude,
so
right.
Anywho, but I also thought it was really weird. The woman didn't say sorry. Like, didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't say sorry.
That's been
didn't come over and say,
for you
my
lately.
bad. I know. I'm like, oh, okay. And I literally looked at the cop and I'm like, is she fucking drunk or something? Like, I was so, like, it went from a quick, like, oh, what the hell just happened, to me sobbing in the car being like, why does this happen? And then I was like, are you fucking kidding me? It literally 3 emotional Sids all in a matter of 30 seconds.
It's also kind of, it's a moment of the day where you're like, you're running from one thing to the next, and you're like, oh, this just puts things into perspective. Like slow the fuck down, chill out, take a breath. Like, because you were like ready to, probably go to your workout, probably go to your next meeting or next thing or whatever. And then that's just like, oh shit, I got to pull back. I got to realize, like, I'm lucky. I'm blessed. Like, I'm not
blessed.
hurt. Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed. I am very blessed.
I don't know why I said that.
It's literally scary.
I'm so blessed.
Just blessed. But anyway, I mean, I'm totally okay. I'm lucky to be okay. The other person had to get pulled out of their car. They're okay. The middle lady was an old little grandma. She said she was okay, but still scary.
Oh,
Anywho, yeah, their cars were totaled. That's how icky it was. Ick. Yeah. So anywho, I'm all right, but just a real straight kind of moment. Like, it happens to us. Like, did I expect to get in a car accident this week when we have so much going on? And thankfully I'm okay, and lose my car. And I'm like, that was not expected, but we're here, we're moving along, we're doing the thing. And Nick Viall is coming on the podcast. What the bananas?
What the actual bananas?
And people, we've been putting in our story, and they're like, how did this happen?
They go, how'd you pull this? How'd you pull this? How'd
you guys
do this?
DM him? And I'm like, let me tell you, honey.
Let's
Nick
break it
Viall.
down. Let's break it down.
We open our phone. We're shopping. We open our little straight candid chat.
Just browsing the racks,
Checking
finding
it out.
those cute sweaters.
Checking
All
it
of a
out.
sudden,
We see
ding dong,
Nick Viall sent you a direct message.
screaming mid-store. Everyone looking. Calm the fuck down. We're like, ah! And then we're
I'm
like,
like, what? That's not real. Is it fake? It's fake. Click on it. No, you click on it. I'm scared.
and then we're like, okay, let's play hard to get. Like, let's like wait a little bit. We're like, what are we gonna say? We like literally thought about it for 24 hours, but we're saying this in the intro because we're chill girls. We're cool girls.
We're playing it cool.
Like,
We're
this
not,
is no big deal. Like, we do this.
doesn't matter.
We do this all the time.
Dude, it doesn't matter, dog. It does not matter. Literally. Oh my God. But literally, we got his book here, by the way. I was going to tell you guys that. Don't text your ex happy birthday. Go check it out if you haven't already. We've got it on deck. Really quick, I was just going to say, because I didn't realize until I was looking at his history with Bachelor, he's been on 3 seasons of regular Bachelor, 1 season of Bachelor Paradise. So he was the runner-up on the first season on The Bachelorette. Yep. Then a second time, the runner-up again on The Bachelorette. And then he went on Bachelor Paradise. And then he was the Bachelor on season 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Also, talk about being in its prime time, because I think it kind of is falling off a little bit, if I have to say so myself.
I love Bachelor in Paradise. I think we should ask him, like, what could make Bachelor better. I feel like you'd have some opinions, because Bachelor in Paradise is where the juice is at, for sure.
Yeah.
But literally, Nick is actually very, very smart. Like, I am just shocked by his advice. Like, and this is not just like, let's get a dude's perspective. Like, this guy actually has some knowledge and obviously knows how to date. And like, so if you had questions and you wrote in questions, we're going to answer all the questions and hear from Nick about all your dating cues.
Exactly.
So, should we do it?
I guess so.
Fuck me up.
Without further ado, I'm scared. Here we go.
Rolling in, Nick Viall. Hello. Welcome to Straight Candid Podcast. We are so hyped, bro. We're happy to have you. How are you?
Good to be with you, ladies.
A fellow Midwesterner in the flesh, on the camera, in the house with a giant book behind him. If you haven't turned on your camera already, you guys go check it out. He's got a big book behind him.
Yeah, I apologize for the mess. It's been
No, you do not need to apologize. You should see our studio behind the curtain here. You'd be like,
Tell us about that big book behind you, actually. Love to hear about it.
We gave it like a little intro, but we didn't give it justice.
It's just a poster.
No.
What?
Yeah.
But your book.
What is the book?
Oh, the book, Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday? Yeah. My loving girlfriend threw me a book release / birthday party, and so they had this up.
Well, I love that. Well, besides the poster, Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday, your book, the hot new thing, everybody's talking about it. Can I ask, like, what prompted you to write a book, just real quick? Because I feel like I think I could write a book, and then I'd get 2 pages in, and I'd be like, whoa, that's enough.
Well, I didn't think I could write a book. It was the opposite. But I do this kind of weekly questions with Nick on my Instagram, which is like just relationship Q&A stuff. And then I wanted to do like a coffee table book, so I went to like my editor and just thought I was going to be like something you sell like, Urban Outfitters, and just be like the Q&As, things like that. But thankfully my editor encouraged me to write the book. But I had definitely a lot of imposter syndrome because I'm dyslexic. I can barely read. I don't know where commas go. I'm not a very good speller.
All the things.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, all those things. But I do, have a lot going on in my brain. So I just started writing, and it was definitely an arduous experience, but something I'm definitely proud of just because I did it. Like even when I finished writing it, I didn't even know it was good. I was just like, it's done.
You're like, here's the finished product.
It turns out people seem to be enjoying it. But yeah, I mean, if writer's block is a real thing, if you want to write a book, just write. Don't worry about writing a great book. Just write pages and get a really, really, really rough draft going. And then once you have your rough draft, it's a lot easier to start going back and kind of fixing it. That's what I did. That's the advice I got. It really worked. It was so much easier. I mean, I wrote like probably 40 to 50% of the book after the first draft.
Sheesh. Holy crap.
So,
okay. So you cleaned it up a little bit. Well,
title. Yeah, you just kind of read it and you're just like, oh, it's missing this. I need to add that. But you just need to, like, when I started writing the book, I was like, oh, I don't fucking know. Like, where should I start? So.
Question for you. So have you texted your ex happy birthday? Like, what's the title about?
Well, I certainly have. That's for sure.
Yeah, like I have too.
I have too. And
like, is this wrong? Help me.
I did it recently too, and I was like, ooh, that's
shit.
like.
Yeah, no, I mean, I haven't in a while. Yeah, I mean, the title is really just about having a catchy title that's relatable to a lot of people, because I think a lot of people have at least thought of or desired to text their ex. So you did recently, you said?
I did, but this is the first time that I've texted him, I would say, like, happy birthday. I skipped like probably last year, and I didn't feel anything. And that was like the most like weight off my shoulders. I also have a boyfriend, so I shouldn't feel anything, but I'm just being real that like sometimes it does bring up a weird like, oh, that was icky, like tingling feeling of like, am I confused or am I just having flashbacks?
So you sounds like you did it just to kind of as like a barometer of where you really were.
Well, maybe, but the other piece of that is just like,
this is good. This is
oh god, I'm
getting
red right now. No, I did it more so because I feel like he had been through a lot, and I just wanted to like make sure he knew that like although we've been through a lot, we've had our differences, we don't communicate anymore. I'm not leaving him in the dust. Like if you needed me really truly, if something were to like terrible happen, like you could talk to me. I mean, we talked for 6 years.
You don't think he knows that?
I was gonna say I like his reaction.
I don't know. I just felt bad because he always wishes me a happy birthday too. That's another layer of it.
Sure. I mean, I get it. Like a lot of people have. Shit. I have. It's just generally not what we say it's for.
I'm literally here. Just let me lay down to rest now. Like literally,
it's like I'm down for the count.
Let me pass away for a second here.
Oh,
no, we'll talk about your book, but I have to ask. Obviously, we gave you the little lowdown, the Bachelor, all the things, right? Like we were talking about this right before the podcast. You're from the Midwest. We're from the Midwest. Going on like our listeners from the Midwest. A lot of them scattered all over, but like nobody gets the like. If you're from the Midwest, it's so small town. Going on The Bachelor, was that like a shock to your family / everybody in the area, or did you not worry about that?
Like people are even judging us for having a podcast and talking about
times.
Vaginas type of shit. So we're curious.
I bet. I didn't really care. Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful. I have a very supporting and loving family. I think they were fascinated by it. Thankfully for me, like I come from a family where there's 10 kids, and
I heard that.
my parents just had other things going on and to worry about their adult son doing this kind of silly thing. Um, so thankfully, I didn't get a lot of. It was just generally like curiosity, concern, and support from my immediate family. Yeah, I mean, like generally, when you go home, people can get weird around you. In the Midwest, they definitely there's a more wholesome vibe to it all. So,
We
but it
are.
didn't really, yeah. Um, you guys will be fine.
Yeah, yeah. And you're past The Bachelor now. You are happily in a relationship. And if I remember correctly, didn't your girlfriend slide into your DMs? Is that how that worked?
She did, yeah.
I love
What
that.
what was her like plan of attack? Like how'd she do it?
She just sent me a picture of myself from my feed, and then complimented me on the picture.
What was the
Aw,
compliment?
That's cute.
I believe she said I was unreal.
Oh.
That's kind of honestly, that's so bro, like unreal. Like, do you know what I mean? I feel like we've gotten that DM before.
It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't, it wasn't. But that's kind of the point. It doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
But isn't it hilarious how we sit and craft messages like as we're like maybe dating and we're like, oh God, should I respond to the story? Like, what should I say? She just like balls to the wall, like unreal. And then that was it. And you were like, ooh, my attention's captured.
And I mentioned this in the book. Social media is a visual platform. It's a tool. You got to use tools how they're meant to be used. So yeah, people want to know what you look like. So make sure it's pretty clear to tell what you look like and things like that. And you're right. You don't have to be overly creative or funny. In fact, you should not try to be funny, or you should not try to be poetic. You just ask a question, let them know, literally just let them know you exist, and then see if they're interested. You just try to keep it simple and keep it small, and just recognize that not everyone's going to be into you, or things like that. But yeah, generally speaking, especially on social media, like there has to be a level of interest from the physical point, like,
Do you think social media has changed the way like we've all been dating?
oh yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. Like the dating apps, like I feel like everyone that I know that's on dating apps right now, like all my girlfriends, they're struggling a lot trying to find someone that they genuinely connect with, because it's almost like there's just all these options. There's almost like too many options. And I feel like these guys that match with them, there's always someone else out there for these dudes, and no one is like settling down, I feel like. So what would be your advice for someone using dating apps trying to actually get in a serious relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I think you gotta self-police. You gotta, my book's all about setting expectations and boundaries. So like I would set expectations and boundaries with yourself around like, how do you, like, what is your goal in a dating app, first off? Because a lot of times you can just use it as a time waster.
Or validation.
Yeah, so I think you have to have you have to do it with intentions, and more than anything, you just have to like self-police, right? Like, if you're dating to actually meet someone, then you will limit your conversations you're having at any given point of time. You will try to get off the apps and into like real conversations, whether that's on a date or like a Zoom call or a FaceTime or things like that. But yeah, it can be challenging because, to your point, like whether you're a man or a woman, like it's nowadays. Back in the day, when I was
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
when I was in college, it was just like, that was like really before MySpace and Facebook and social media and dating apps. And it was just like, if you just like, you'd meet someone, if you had a feeling, you'd be like, we should date. And I think nowadays when you're younger, you still have that. But as we get older and we have to like one relationship we get out of, and then we get back out there, and it's nice to like finally, meet people that are single. I remember being like, I just wish I knew who was single, so I could know who's available. And now you have all these people who are single, and it's just like, well, you want to make sure before we settle down with any one person, this is the most perfect person in the world for us. And until we know that they're perfect, we all want to hedge our bets by like having our feelers out there and
I was gonna say that
not
because a
define
lot of women,
have been dating around and things like that. And,
a lot of girlfriends, I was just gonna say, have like and I'm only saying girlfriends because that's who I'm talking to, have like, well, it doesn't really matter that this one ended because I've got like 4 in the docket, like in my like Hinge DMs.
On the
but it's
roster.
also like, how long have they been in the Hinge DMs? Like a month, 2 months that you've just been like randomly texting the screen person back and forth, not getting to the point. Like, let's move it along.
Lots
like,
of back and forth.
Let's get to the point. If you actually want the genuine relationship, put in the effort to like get it moving.
The analogy I always use all the time is browsing Netflix and watching the previews for like 45. It's just like we're all looking for the perfect preview to guarantee that we're gonna love this movie or show. And sometimes we just have to like start the movie, see it.
That's why I love your idea of the Zoom dates. I've actually done this before, and I wish I would have done it more when I was dating because it was so effective and efficient. So how can you take like these matches on the dating apps? Like why would you recommend a Zoom date, I guess?
Why would I recommend a Zoom date? Well, for a lot of people, for one, text messaging total strangers is a giant waste of everyone's time. You don't know any of these people. I don't care what 5 pictures they picked in their bio or, how clever their bio is and how much they like to laugh or like to travel or like food or whatever, whatever it says. Like people's, like I've never met you ladies, right? Immediately I know your voices now, your sense of humor, your body language, how you're like laughing or not laughing, and things like that. And that's just building a rapport. And how do you tell jokes over text messages and things like that? And usually what are these messages? Like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Nothing. Hanging out with some friends. Oh, we should get together sometime. Sounds good. And then like nothing happens, right? And then for, if you're a guy, and like if you're traditional and kind of dating, you're like, you want to be the guy who wants to pay for the first date, that can be expensive for women out there who, like, safety is a concern, like you're just meeting all these strange dudes, like, so, I just think you can figure out a lot. You can kind of weed things out a lot faster, a lot safer, and a lot more inexpensive by getting on a Zoom call for 15 minutes. You can literally make a Gmail account that's only for Zoom so that you don't have to give off any personal information. You don't have to give your number. I mean, certainly a FaceTime and like you can block them if it doesn't go well. But like if you want to make it super like, safe and private, like you can literally just give them like a bullshit email address. But like I said, it weeds people out much faster. I mean, think if you're on dating apps, think of all like how many like conversations do you have that are going on that have been there, like you said, for weeks or months or things like that. And I get it too, right? Like, you're just like, oh, do I really want to get ready? Do I really want to pick out a place to meet? Do I really want to sit in front of this stranger for the 3rd date? Like all these past other dates were so exhausting. You got to, whether it's you drive there, you get in an Uber, if you're in the Midwest in the winter, it's freaking cold. You don't want to go outside. Like there's all these reasons not to do it. But like, this right here, you never know. You can log on and like it can go really well and you get a better sense of what they look like.
Are you saying we're on a date?
Pardon me?
Are you saying we're on a date?
With Megan in the background.
Hey,
Yeah.
girl.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Like you could look back and you could be like, wow, like, your room's kind of messy. Like what's going on? You'd be like, oh, well, I'm having a rummage sale. You'd be like, oh, well, he's like
want to meet up at my rummage sale?
Stuff like that. So it's just so much easier. And like literally if they're weird or whatever, you can just hang up.
I know. But I feel like it's a problem because a lot of people are seeking validation from a lot of people, and maybe they're seeking it like comparing them to exes, and they're not getting into a relationship because everything looks like a flag to them, or like they want to have someone on the back burner just in case. Like what advice do you have for somebody who's just like fighting off the old feelings of an ex and feels like there's nobody in front of them that's like a good option?
Still caught up on the ex?
Yeah, caught up on the ex.
So advice for people who are still caught up on
their ex, and they're like trying the dating apps out, but they're not like moving anything along. Like they're not moving the needle.
Well, first read chapter 10 of Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday. But then, I mean, if you're like, that's the thing. Like, listen, if you're having a hard time getting over your ex, chances are that you haven't changed your mindset. Because heartbreak is tough. And depending, like, for example, if it's a first heartbreak, well, then you have the burden of never having felt this before. Like the hard part of getting over your first love is you truly believe you won't, because you You don't know what you didn't know what it's like to fall in love. Now you don't know what it's like to feel heartbroken, and there's a genuine fear of ever getting over it. But first, you just have to have the confidence that you will. But just in general, I think just being mindful of, again, like, I think sometimes we will want to hold on to the pain because the pain's the only thing we have left of them, you know. But more importantly, I think uh, if you just want to like an exercise, I talk about like being grateful versus hopeful, right? I know you want to make a list, you know, it's similar to like a pros and cons list or things you liked and didn't like. I put it in hopeful and grateful terms because I think it just is a little more eye opening in terms of like hopeful, like, you know, I like hope is a great thing when you're not in a relationship and hoping to meet someone, you know, it's a great way to fantasize about your dreams and aspirations, especially in relationships. But in a relationship, hope is a sign of the things that you don't have. So if you are breaking up with someone, or maybe like know that the end is coming, and think about all the things you've hoped to you want. I would hope they spend more time together with me. I always hoped that they would talk with me with more respect, or, you know, made me feel like a priority. And you start listing all the things that you hoped in that relationship, and my guess is that list will be pretty long. And that exercise will tell you like how they actually made you feel, because I think the challenge sometimes, there's my dog. Um, the the challenge sometimes is I don't think we're actually thinking about the feelings that people make us feel. I think we will just say, well, I feel something, especially when we meet someone.
That's so helpful.
Yeah.
Wow.
And half the time too, like I remember, you know, when I got cheated on by my then fiance, I felt like embarrassment and frustration, you know, like I felt ashamed, you know, and granted, I was heartbroken over the relationship. When I look back and reflect now on my state of mind, uh, most of my pain was focused around like the fact that she cheated on me, right? And it wasn't really about her or what I lost. It wasn't like, oh, I lost this person who made me feel good all the time. I lost this person who we laughed all the time. In fact, we didn't even like get along. We weren't even compatible. But I was so heartbroken over the situation because I focused on the fact, you know, that she did this thing, or I couldn't have the relationship anymore, or, you know, I thought you know, chance usually when relationships end, we will go back and remind ourselves of all the promises we made to one another about how that relationship was going to play out, and then we will beat ourselves up and things like that. So those little things that we do in our head will only make it worse. But I think we need to start focusing on, you know, how did they actually make us feel? What was our state of mind when we were in the relationship? Like, were we more confused and frustrated than happy, you know, and things like that? And I think when you start actually thinking about that, I think it becomes a little easier to realize that maybe this relationship, as much as you missed it or didn't want it to end, ended for maybe a good reason. And you can then start hoping about the type of feelings you want in your next relationship, because
Absolutely.
sometimes we just want to search. I was talking to a girl, a friend last night at a party, and she talked about how she hadn't dated for, you know, she was a late bloomer in dating, and then she finally met a guy, and she realized now that it wasn't like about her like wanting a guy. Well, I mean, she wanted, you know, she wanted a date, but it was just like the feeling of someone liking her, the feeling of someone
Yeah.
validating her. It didn't even matter what it was. It's just she wanted to feel that feeling. And I think sometimes we're chasing feelings rather than people. And then sometimes when you just have people, we're not paying attention to the feelings they actually make us feel. So I think if we can just get more mindful about that and slow down and actually process those things, it can be a little easier. If that any of that makes sense.
No, it does. No, it
So
totally
helpful.
does.
I like that a lot.
Very helpful, and it reminds me of like the toxic love versus like actual love, and like the roller coaster of, for me, like I would always look back and be like, oh, remember those good times, but I'd burn out the bad times that we had over
Forget
and over.
all that, the shitty shit that
Yeah,
happens.
the cycle of the dip, and
Uh-huh.
then the, oh my god, the love bombing or whatever it's called, then the dip again, and then, oh yep, and then
But he
ended
got
up
me flowers.
yeah, and then he ended up cheating. Like,
Yeah.
same situation, right? And
Yeah.
like, what would you say to somebody when they're comparing their toxic love to their real love? Like, what should they look for? Like, what's past that?
I just call it toxic stimulation, not toxic love. Uh, I think you got to remember that our brain prefers pain to boredom.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just had a
Mic drop.
literally, I'm like, oh,
That's
okay.
sick. I've never thought about that.
Our brain loves to be stimulated. whatever
That's true.
that stimulation is. And boredom is the thing it hates the most, right? So it'll seek out feeling something rather than nothing at all.
It's probably why my brain loves anxiety.
That's what I was gonna say.
My brain loves anxiety more than boredom. It's like, let's go.
It's something to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's something to do. So I just think, yeah. So if you're just mindful of that and knowing that, like, that you don't get addicted to the fight and the making up, and again, just everyone's different, right? Like, every relationship has its fights, its conflicts, right? But I think it's always good to also check in with yourself and your relationships. Like, how have I been feeling over the past month in this relationship? How have this person made me feel? And it doesn't mean break up. Sometimes you just have to sit down and say, hey, I think we should just check in with one another. And I've been feeling this certain way for a period of time. Can we talk about it? Stuff like that. But yeah, we can get addicted to the roller coaster and the ups and downs, because the highs are fun. It's fun to make up with someone and feel like that sense of connection. But it's so over time, it's not sustainable, and it wears us out and things like that. So I wouldn't call it toxic love. It's more toxic stimulation. And
I like that term a lot.
I like that more. I've just only heard toxic love. Yeah.
So
you had a question.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, we talked a lot about like being in a relationship. We do have a lot of listeners that are like college age that go to the U of M. And I guess my question for you is, let's say they have moved on from their ex, they're looking for a new relationship. How do you have like easy signs to identify a fuckboy or a player?
Chapter 2.
I was gonna say, why don't you rattle?
I do know it's probably in the book because I did read it, but can you just rattle a few for us?
Well, inconsistent would be the number one thing, and I'm just a big believer nowadays, especially for people in college, right? Like the Gen Zs of the world now. I think honestly, everyone is a fuckboy, and I say that because nowadays everyone's participating in hookup culture, right? And to be a fuckboy essentially is to be in a physical relationship with someone, right? Where one person is even slightly more into the other, and that happens all the time.
Happens every time, basically, I think.
Right. And so all it takes is to feel like you've been fuckboyed, is to have, you're hooking up, you're having sex, which can be very personal and intimate. And the other person's kind of like, I don't know, a non-committal. And all of a sudden you just feel kind of like fuckboyed. Right. And so I think we just have to be mindful of how people prioritize us, how consistent they are. When we're excited about things, we're very consistent with it. We want to see them, we want to enjoy them over and over. Like, we don't take breaks. Like, none of us are patient people. Like, some of us are better than others, and when we get excited, we want more of the things we get excited about, and we make those things a priority. And so if someone's just inconsistent with you and kind of like, well, let's hang out together in the future. Well, what do you mean the future? Or someday, things like that. People who are excited will make plans. They'll reach out. Even non-planners will make plans when they're excited. So if you are really excited about someone, and if you are interested or are hooking up with them and they're not being consistent, you are definitely falling for a fuckboy.
Do you believe, because we've talked about this on the podcast before, do you believe the saying, if he wanted to, he would?
To a certain degree, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly go back and like, well, what about this or what about that? Yeah. There's exceptions to every rule, but yes, okay. The only adjustment I would say, if they wanted to, they would. Like men and women are very similar in that regard too. That's why I say, like, I think fuckboys can be men and women now. Like we're becoming more similar in terms of how we go about and date. Like you women refer to like your women friends having rosters now. And that was something like 10 years ago only men seemed to talk about, right? Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, if they wanted to, they would. They're not scared. They're just not sure if you're the best thing they can get, because, there's 10 other people on dating apps and things like that, or, but excited people, interested people will make you a priority. They'll be consistent. They'll show up. They'll follow through. And that's not to say that on a first date, you have to like expect them to plan these extravagant dates or, immediately be super consistent, because it takes time to get to know someone. But the point is, it should always grow. It should always progress. It shouldn't become less consistent. You shouldn't be made to feel like less of a priority. It should be a slow build, and there should be some progress and things like that. So generally I would say yes, but there's always exceptions to every rule.
There's always exceptions for everything. Well, Okay, this is exciting because we had listeners write in, kind of like how you do on your Monday nights or whatever when you're
Office
asking people,
hours.
office hours. And we had them write in with their situations to get your feedback and our feedback live. So we have
Couple
a few
question.
on our screen that we're going to read off to you. Okay, sound good?
Let's go.
Ready to roll? Okay, first one. My boyfriend and I have been together for over 5 years, since we were 22 years old. I feel like I'm growing professionally, spiritually, and he's still the same minimal wage job, not taking his future seriously. I love him. He is so good to me in so many ways, but we getting older and I'm starting to feel insecure about our relationship, financially insecure. I'm beginning to be irritable. I'm shutting down. And frankly, his chill boy attitude is pissing me the fuck off. What do I do?
Well, I guess my first question, if she was calling in, I'd ask her, have you talked to him about this? You know, you'd be surprised. Half the people I ask that question to, they're like, no. And I'm like, well, try that. You know, like, again, I don't think, I talk about this in my book too, but so many of us make the mistake of deciding we like someone or deciding we're in love and then like stop checking in.
Checking in with yourself, you mean? Like,
Or them.
Yeah.
Or
right?
with them, or like
Mhm.
still learning about people. We're constantly changing as people. You're a different, you're both different than you were a year ago. You're both different than you were 6 months ago. How much, I don't know, but you are different. You've grown, you've met new people, you've learned different things. And I think you just have to check in with each other about like, how's it, like, it's, and we don't want to do that because oftentimes when we check in, we're afraid of learning something we want to hear, because we like to think that once we're in a relationship and we say the words, I love you, that somehow those words are going to make us work. It's going to be us saying those words. It's going to somehow carry us through whatever conflict or challenges we have. And because we said, I love you way back when 5 years ago, that's all we really need to do. But the truth is we always have to like check in with each other, see how, and we have to express our frustrations. We have to maybe bring up new expectations in a relationship because our desires might change. And that would be step one. And this might be a sad case of maybe her non-negotiables have changed. After 5 years, she could be an entirely different person than she was when she first met her boyfriend. And I'm sure she fell in love with a lot of aspects, and maybe he's really nice, but maybe at the end of the day, she wants more from a partner, or maybe not. Maybe she just needs to sit down, and maybe he's just not feeling his best self, or maybe he's lost some confidence and maybe he could use her help. I don't know, but I definitely recommend her asking about it. It's not going to fix itself. And unless she either, checks in and gets back on the same page with her boyfriend and figures out how she can not feel that way, or maybe she just realizes, while it was a good 5-year run, maybe they're just not as compatible as they used to be. And that's entirely possible. But like, these feelings of resentment and frustration aren't going to go anywhere. And she definitely needs to talk to him and maybe have some honest conversations with herself about what her really how does she want to feel in relationships? What expectations does she have in herself and her relationship? Does she want to be the primary caregiver financially? Does she want to be more of a mutual thing? Does she want her partner to be the primary?
He just wants to be a chill boy.
Chill boy.
Yeah. So, if maybe she doesn't sound like she wants a chill boy.
Yeah.
So like, if he's going to be a chill boy, then there's someone else who might like that. But we have to like come to, the less we check in with each other, the more likely we are to be in a relationship and feel like we've grown apart. And I would be willing to bet this person hasn't checked in with her partner all that much over the past 5 years. And she's now realizing how different they are and how different their priorities are.
Yeah. Wow, I really like that. The checking in thing is a great way to kind of stay on top of your relationship. So, okay, next question. Someone wrote it and said, what's the best way to navigate my relationship when me and my partner's love languages are not the same?
I mean, they're usually not the same. That's the thing. But most people confuse, like, there's your love language, how you receive love, and then there's how your partner receives love. And they both need to be a priority for both people. So that's step one. So they're usually not the same. But you need to want to make your partner feel loved, and your partner needs to want to make you feel loved. And that's a conversation that should usually happen early in relationships, because relationships are about sacrifice. Like, they're not about, finding the perfect person who loves everything you like all the time and everyone's happy. And it's just like, oh, me too. Like, I don't have to compromise. Like, so ideally there's some matches there. Hopefully you're not dating someone where to make them feel love makes you like want to like kill yourself or, No, or just not
Love
kill
that.
yourself, get that out. But you know what I'm saying? Like, just like it's like painful to like, oh, I don't want to touch you, like something like that. But you just have to be willing to understand what your partner loves and want to meet those expectations and make and feel like it's just as much a priority. And that's the thing. It's just like at the end of the day, if you know when your partner wants to make you a priority, and you know when you're in a relationship where you say to someone, hey, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm frustrated, or whatever, and instead of getting defensive, it's more like, well, how can I not make you feel that way? What can I do to make you feel good? Like when you're in a loving relationship, you want to go out of your way to make your partner feel good. You're not just trying to feel good yourself.
You're
So
not a
it's just really
narcissist, yeah. Because it is kind of narcissistic, though, like patterns people have where they're just like, well, geez, I'm sorry. I've like had a bad day. Sorry I was making you feel that way. It's like, okay, I'm actually talking about me right now, like trying to figure out how we can teamwork this, to make it better. But I like that.
I think, in fights, it's something Nally and I work on a lot too. But like, I think you got to be, when you're in conflict with our partners, right? Like, it's just very easy. It's so easy, and we all do this, right? We don't want to get into fights, but you're like, you're bothered by something. So you usually start that conversation and you'll say, hey, like, listen, I'm a little upset right now because like you're doing something, and can we talk about it? But immediately you've triggered that person by saying, I'm upset and it's your fault.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You can, the feeling. I felt it in my chest of like, uh-oh, here we go. Yeah.
But instead, like what I try to do too is this: I'll just say, hey, I'm feeling a little insecure about this, and I don't even know why, but I'd love for us to talk about it and see if we can figure this out
together.
Because I don't want to feel this way, and I know you don't want me to feel this way, and I wouldn't want you to feel this way. So could we do this together? Yeah. And so immediately you're a lot less triggered. You're a lot less like defensive. Again, it doesn't work for everyone, but if you say that stuff and you're with someone, it still gets contentious, then, maybe you're with someone who's, not really good at communication, but
that's a whole nother level of,
you can avoid a lot of conflict by just using language like we and us rather than you and I. And that will go a long way.
I like that a lot. Well, okay, last one, because I know we got to wrap up soon, but speaking of like kind of the overthinking piece of that, this person said, I struggle a lot with overthinking, anxiety, and self-sabotage when I start to like someone. How do I get out of my own head and not fuck it up?
Yeah, I'm an overthinker too. Part of it is just like you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to get your heart broken or be disappointed. That's the big step, right? Like you can't avoid disappointment in relationships. There's no guarantees, especially now more than ever, but if you're just willing to be honest with yourself first, set expectations with other people, set boundaries with yourself, set expectations with other people, and communicate those, you have a better chance of it working than not working out. And just know that if it doesn't work out, you'll probably learn something from it. There's always other people for you to enjoy. There's a lot of people in this world you can be compatible with. But if you don't try, you're never going to find it. So be vulnerable, connect with people, be open to people getting to know you, be open to disappointing people. None of it's the end of the world. And I say that as someone who's often felt like it was the end of the world when relationships ended. But I promise you'll survive it. And just take a chance, because the good thing, not to sound corny, but like, of all the things about love and dating and relationships that suck and are hard and are frustrating, if you're lucky enough to find a good relationship, it really makes it all worthwhile. And
absolutely,
you just have to be willing to go through this shit, sometimes to find it.
I completely agree.
Oh,
that was good. I'm like,
to wrap it up.
Like,
I love that.
I feel like the self-sabotage thing is so relatable for so many people.
Absolutely.
And the only thing I would add is that build your confidence up a little bit. Like, have faith that you're also seeing if this person likes you, but if you like the person back, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a dual thing. It's not like
you're not performing.
You're not performing for them. Yeah. You're not trying to, just make them be impressed and like hope it works.
Exactly.
It's like, it's mutual.
I couldn't agree more. I'd say the first 3 dates should primarily be focused on whether you are interested in them at all.
Versus like, I hope he likes me. Because how many times do you hear that? Like,
I know that's not realistic to not care at all, but like you really should be primarily focused on these are strangers.
Yeah.
So stop telling them your personal secrets and stop like opening up in just hopes that they think you're interesting. Like, there is so much to learn about these people you're going on dates with. So ask them questions. And if you get excited, just say, tell yourself, I'm excited, but now I have so much more to learn,
Ooh.
And just remind yourself of that. that it can be fun too, even in relationships. I think sometimes people always ask me, how do you keep relationships, how do you keep the spark, or how do you keep things exciting? Well, like, stop assuming you know everything about your partner. Find out about what's interested them lately. What have they thought about them? What's something in the past couple of weeks that worried them or they got insecure about? Because it's amazing how many times in relationships we're not having conversations like that we'll have these even surface level conversations like, well, how was your day? Well, how was your day? With people we've been dating for 5 or 6 years. And we don't often talk about things that worry us or frighten us or make us insecure with our partners or excite us and things like that. And there's a lot to learn within those conversations.
You got to start communicating. You just got to start asking questions. Start practicing, and also don't text your ex happy birthday.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Even though Nick still did.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
On.
We appreciate you.
It was a pleasure talking with you, ladies.
That was fun, actually. Like, people are going to
your success.
Yeah, I would call it a success too. And I'm hyped that you're just a Midwesterner too. I'm like, it just makes me feel cool. I'm like, yes.
So that was all of we usually do like a listener straight canon moment, but this week we did listener advice questions. So thank you guys if you wrote in and we got Nick's advice. Nick, we also do something that's called straight candid moments. It's a moment that makes us like more humble. For example, Syd shits her pants sometimes.
Sometimes, not always. What? Nothing happened. What? Go ahead. Keep going.
It's just like an embarrassing moment. Do you have anything at the top of your head that you want to share with our audience that makes you more human, more humble? Because you're Nick Viall, and I feel like you don't shit your pants.
He shits his pants.
I try not to, that's for sure.
I just had to spice it up at the end here and see how you reacted. So share, if you have anything, let's hear it.
Something that makes you more humble. I mean,
embarrassing. Maybe you spilled your hot coffee all over your face this morning, or what's another funny sex story, or a horrible.
I'm a very aloof, absent-minded person at times. So I can spend 20 minutes looking for something that's in my pocket.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's perfect. There you go,
that's
your phone.
That's always embarrassing. And one time, I'll end with this too, but dating can be very fatiguing, and I think we have to remember that we have all been someone's bad date. So like, let's just speak a little gracious and kind to people we're on dates with. And if it doesn't go well, that's fine. Like, but like, when we're on dates sometimes, because nowadays you're out there, you're hustling, you're dating, sometimes you're like, I want to go out and date. So now you're on your 4th coffee date of the week, and it's just like the same goddamn conversations. And so by the end, you realize that maybe you weren't your best self. Maybe you weren't asking those questions, or maybe you just felt like, oh, it's the same conversations, and you just seem disengaged and things like that. And the person who's across from you is just like, this person's a prick. But this is all to say, when I first moved to LA, I didn't really know anyone, and I was going on a lot of coffee dates. Like Raya, I don't know if you're familiar.
Oh yeah, Raya.
I had hopped on Rye. It was early, and I didn't really know anyone, so I was just going on a ton of coffee dates. I was just trying to meet people, and then I ended up like 3 weeks later going to a party with a girl who I had a coffee date with, but I didn't recognize her.
This is something I would do. Yep.
And it was a nightmare.
That's so awkward.
Because it was like I came as a guest to it as a friend, so she had more friends there than I did. And it was just like, I think I had been like on 4 or 5 dates that week. And it was just like, I was just like so tired of like dating. And I had like took a time out.
Was she pissed?
Yeah. And I'm like bad with faces too, because
Would you say nice to meet you? Did you say nice to meet you? And she was like, what?
Yeah, 100%. Like, it was a nightmare.
Good. You're kidding.
So very, very embarrassing.
I've been there though. I really have.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's just a reminder. Like, and for me, I was really trying to be outgoing and meet people. I overextended myself. I just wasn't my best self, and I made a fool of myself.
I've never done that.
You have to remember, we're all trying out there, and so that's not to make excuses for people who are rude or inconsiderate on dates. But just because someone's a little nervous or not super conversational, when you're worried why they're not asking you all these questions, they're pissed that you're not paying attention to what they're saying, type of thing. So just remember that on dates, and. Ooh. If you're nervous, try to just ask questions. And if they're not asking questions back, just ask follow-up questions and things like that. And if it wasn't a vibe, just don't go on another date. But trust me when I say it, we've all been someone's bad date.
You just
I
ended that
love-
on the perfect note. I
Clap,
feel
clap, snap, snap.
we appreciate you being here. I know you got a cruise, you got a jet, you're a busy guy. But real quick, tell everybody where they can grab your book. Obviously, we know your
Follow you.
Instagram name is.
Go to viallfiles.com. You can get my book. There's links for everything, whether it's Amazon, if you want to support like indie bookstores, like bookshop.org or IndieBound. They'll ship it to you from an independent bookstore, so you're supporting independent bookstores. Audiobook, it's on Audible. So if you're in the Canada or UK, wherever, I don't know how broad your audience is, but
They are there. They've got their Canada crew. Your shout out. We got them all over now. But
there you go. And yeah, there's links to all different ways you can get the book, and then check us out, the Viall Files, anywhere you listen to podcasts.
I love it. Thank you for
Thank
being
you,
here.
Nick.
We appreciate
Ladies,
you.
thanks so much.
We had a
Congrats on your
blast.
success.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody listening at Straight Candid Podcasts and Instagram, TikTok, all the places. As always, follow, like, subscribe to all the things at Candid Syd.
I'm at Candid Soph. And last reminder to click the link in our bio because we have a Best Christmas Ever donation happening right now. So please consider clicking that link in bio and donating. Thank you, guys.
We appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye, Nick.
Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys. Thank you.
Wait, good.
Awesome job. Thanks so much, Nick.
Thank you.
That went well, you guys.
That was so helpful. I learned a lot, actually.